J&V Restaurant Supply has been your home for everything tailgating for the last 45 years. Stop into one of our 3 locations to pick up everything you will need to make your tailgate a winner. From bar gadgets to all the professional cooking tools you'll need to score big with your buddies, the public is always welcome. And to celebrate our 45th anniversary, J&V is offering drone delivery. Maybe we'll just use the truck. Go Cats!
Well, obviously, it's great to be still doing these press conferences on Mondays with games in front of us. Like I said on Friday night, couldn't be more proud of our group of guys, coming out and just attacking an opponent like we did. I think, offense, I know it took us a couple series, but, defensively, we got after them from the get-go. Special teams had a huge factor in that game, and we didn't relent. And that was the type of game we needed to play, and we played it. And now we have obviously a real tall task in front of us, going to Brookings, South Dakota, to play the top seed in South Dakota State, who obviously we played last year and have a great deal of respect for. I think both teams are very similar to last year. Not a lot of differences in how we probably want to do things. So, it'll be a great matchup, and that's the way they should be this time of year when you're down to 4 teams. I didn't on Friday night thank sports facilities and the community again. The field was as playable as it possibly could be, and the commitment by so many to get out there and clean it up in time after time, and we hope they have to keep cleaning that field out for a while longer here. So I want to make sure I thank them. And anyways, we're on to the next one, so I'll start to open it up.
To your point, such a great game in all phases for you guys. Where do you go from here and when you face South Dakota State this weekend?
Well, it's not like you don't flip the tape on and see things you need to correct. I think, that's where you start. And then you just, we came out of the game as healthy as we've come out of a game as long as I can remember. So you just raise the bar, and, going on the road is a challenge. Obviously we haven't had to do that in a few weeks now, but no, I think you raise the bar and understand that, South Dakota State offense, defense, special teams is a really good team, and we have to play, whatever our best is. That's what's going to have to be. So just keep demanding more. It's not like we need to reinvent the wheel or anything, but we need to keep demanding more of our guys.
Going undefeated at home again another season, I guess, just your thoughts on that.
Well, it's certainly what we want it to be. I think our home field advantage, our crowd, our elevation, should lend itself to having a good record at home and being able to maintain undefeated record 2 years in a row. I think that's definitely where we want to be. And I know the schedule this year was challenging at home, and to get through it unscathed, I think it's something that we want to live up to every year. And obviously to have 3 home playoff games would be ideal. We only have 2 this year, and we took full advantage of them. And it's 20 wins in a row. That doesn't happen by chance. I think I've said it before. The first thing, you better have good players, and I think we do have that. But our crowd, week in, week out, it's just been amazing. And I think our guys feed off of it, but then the problems it creates for the other teams is something to behold too. So we'll look forward to Gold Rush next year, the next opportunity to play in front of them.
Yeah, and you mentioned the similarities between these 2 teams last year. How much will that experience of last year's playoff run kind of help in the semifinal match?
Well, you mean just playing them?
Yeah.
I think it's certainly the familiarity, I think, can help both teams. Anytime you have a game to call upon where you've played the same opponent, whether it's within the season or 1 year to the next, I think that's definitely a place you start. What we did well, what they did well, you try to play, even the chess game within that. So I think it gives our guys a sense for who they are too. That was a 14-point margin. That was a really close game. We ended up scoring twice in that second half, but the margin of victory, I don't think was a 14 points. That's the way the score ended up. It was a really tight game as far as physicality and all those things. So no, I think it doesn't give either one of us an advantage, but I think it helps both teams prepare.
Do you feel like there have been struggles on the road, or is it kind of just a combination of factors that just made some of those games closer than you would have liked?
Yeah, you could look at the start we had in Greeley, where they made some plays we didn't. You can look at the fast start in Northern Arizona where we get up real quick, 17-0, and they just continue to make plays. Eastern, the team we played in Eastern compared to where Eastern ended up, probably two different things. We had opportunities in that game to open up. I think we've played better regardless of where we would play lately, and that's what we want to be. I think we're a better team now when we play at home or away now than we were end of September, beginning October. I think we're a lot better team right now, and that's really what we aim to be. We withstood some things through that stretch, and we found ways to win games. And I think that's part of a season like we've had. You're going to look back and we've won 12 games, and not all those 12 wins were masterpieces by any means, but you find a way to win, and then you don't even worry about so much what games were close and what margins were and those type of things. So I think in the here and now we're playing well, and that's what our biggest concern. And going on the road, you have to have a team that's got maturity about itself. I look in, okay, it's going to be really cold. We've played 3 games now below freezing, so it's going to be cold and it's all that, but it's not like our first time doing that. Some of our guys have played, I think over in Brookings a few years back. They were young, but so there's a little bit of familiarity with the stadium, those type of things. So no, it's more challenging, but I think it was, those scores were for a lot of reasons.
And having the Cal Poly game be your last road game, where that was pretty dominant the whole way. I mean, is that how much, I guess, confidence or?
Yeah, I think we would gain more confidence in how we played, probably even since then, as we've gotten to playoffs and stuff. So no, I think we gotta, as you go through the course of the season, and you've been on the road, this will be our 6th time. I think, as a team, you become more adept and more mature as the season goes along. Typically those early road games with a team that's got a mix of old and young is more challenging, and we're obviously at the tail end here. So I'm confident that going on the road will not be thorn on our side.
And then South Dakota State, obviously the big storyline is best rushing offense versus their best rushing defense. What do they do especially well on the rush defense?
Well, I think first of all, they're very principled. They have a good scheme. Their guys play within that scheme really well. You don't see a lot of plays. You're like, well, they got 2 guys in this gap, or they busted this or busted that. So then beyond that, they have good players and they play really hard. I think up front they get off blocks really well. They play a lot of guys in their front, which keeps those guys fresh. But I think they just they're relentless, and at the same time they don't give up a lot of big passes because they're over aggressive either. They have a good sound scheme. It's very similar to ours, but they this year have played extremely well. No different than how they had played coming in that game last year. I think their numbers probably are a little bit better, but I think it's a very similar look to what we felt coming in the game last year.
Is there anyone on that defense that sticks out to you on game film that you can just?
Yeah, I think up front, Winkleman and Sanders are probably the guys, but then I keep looking up numbers because they do play a lot of guys. So there's, it's not like there's this drop off. I think some teams we've faced had a really good first kind of wave they would throw at you. Then as they substituted, it was quite a bit different. I don't see that with these guys. Their linebackers are good players. Their safeties are aggressive. They really tackle well. So it's a team that stops to run. It's about the front 7, and that's where it starts. And that's them playing probably 12, 13, 14 guys at those 7 positions. So Now they have good players that to me they seem extremely disciplined, and then they play super hard. So our effort level, our physicality has to be as good as it's been.
And on the flip side, there's obviously some playmakers on offense. Who sticks out to you? What are you guys kind of expecting on a defensive side?
Well, I think you look at the big difference from last year is the change of quarterback. Lodokin is gone, and Karnowski's back. And he's obviously a quarterback that, as a young guy, led his team to the national championship. So that's they're similar enough where their offense hasn't changed because of him. Isaiah Davis is a really good back. And I think this time of year they really want to lean on him probably more than anybody. I think tight end wise, both Kraft and Hines are really good players. I think they're both NFL types. They're blocking wise, they can be dominant, and they can be weapons in the pass game. On the perimeter, the Yankee twins are very impressive as well. So it's a lot of the same faces, with the exception of the quarterback changed, and they don't have Pierre Strong, and they're really good up front. So I mean, rewinding all of that, it probably starts with how good they are up front. So really they're a methodical offense, but they have the capability of making big plays, and it's apparent that they play off each other, offense, defense, and they don't put their defense in bad situations and vice versa. That's kind of been their way of overcoming some challenges, so that they've had in their regular season to go undefeated through the Missouri Valley was just hanging in there in a couple of games they got behind, and believing that they would ultimately it would all work out, because they had several games where they were challenged in conference, and it's a credit to their makeup as a team to be able to find a way to win those games.
Coach, from your experience coaching in Brookings, how would you describe that atmosphere?
Well, new stadium as of 16, so I haven't been there since the new stadium. I know, going back to both playing and coaching there through 2013, it was always a challenging environment for us. It was one of the few grass fields at the tail end. I know that was probably part of it, but they had good teams. And I think that's what it's been for me over time, is that South Dakota State was always going to have a good team. They're always going to play hard. And Coach Stigmeier's been the head coach since I was playing. I was a senior playing when he started as a head coach, so that goes back to my senior year. They beat us down there in Brookings. So always challenging. It starts with just they've always had quality teams, and the new stadium. I haven't been there in person, but is a stark contrast from what it was before, and not only for the fans, but I think for the players as well. It looks like their surface played well last week, and no, we're looking forward to it. I hope a lot of people from Montana, from our fan base, wherever they're coming from, can make the trip to Brookings.
Is their front? Are they always 4-3, or do they do multiple fronts?
They got some multiple stuff they do down distance wise, but if you're rolling the ball out there on first and second down, they're going to be 4 down for the most part. Pressure some, but really look to play just sound physical defense and move a little bit to create some problems for you. But they're probably as we've gone through this season now, they would defensively, from a scheme perspective, match us more than anybody we've faced.
And their quarterback, or Holy Cross quarterback, having that success in this last game, does that give you a little bit more encouragement? Is it something you guys thought you could exploit with your running quarterbacks before that?
Well, I thought he played really well. There was some yardage gain on design runs. A lot of it was scrambling. I think to beat them, your quarterbacks have to play well. Your quarterback has to play well. In our case, quarterbacks. I do think that's absolutely the case. And I think to win games at this time of year, you got to have good quarterback play. So I think there's some things we could definitely pull from that. I don't know that getting into Holy Cross, was tied in the third quarter, and whether they should have been or should have. I don't subscribing to any of that. I don't see anything about, but I think they did some things. Their quarterback had a really good game defensively. They made it challenging for South Dakota State. But at Holy Cross was undefeated too. So I think that's credit to Holy Cross a little bit more than saying that, this is some commentary on South Dakota State.
Coach, back to your connection with the head coach at South Dakota State, do you have any other connections within the program?
Coaching staff wise, I have some familiarity, but it was Coach Eck and Coach Schleicher actually went to Idaho that I probably knew better than anyone else. A position coach at Wyoming who I worked with was at South Dakota State for a long time. So there's a little bit of ties there. Some of the kids, I recruited that footprint, Minnesota, South Dakota, while I was at Wyoming. So some of the kids that I would know from recruiting, but yeah, that's about it.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up. Oh yeah.
Third trip to the semifinals for the program since 2019. The first one you weren't here for, but I guess just having that success in the playoffs, what does that kind of say for this program naturally?
Well, I think it means come playoff time, so that's really the tail end of the regular season. So you're talking mid to late November, and then December. We've been able to continue to improve. And what does that speak to? That speaks to having good players, but having players committed in the off season to be able to train the right way to win games late in the year. It's having coaches and players alike throughout fall camp and the season committed to getting better, because a lot of teams changed for the worse as the season went along. And I think we look at these 3 seasons, even independently, I think Montana State's been playing its best football this time of year. And I think we have the support and the resources that, come this time of year, our expectations should be to continue to be playing, I guess. So I'm glad our guys have been able to do the things necessary to, keep winning games this time of year.
Coach, a little off the topic of the game this weekend, Sunny Holland celebration tomorrow. Will your whole team be there?
No, I don't know that would be. I think that'd be fairly overwhelming over there. So myself and the captains are going to go. We're obviously in a work week that's got a relatively tight schedule, and while I would love for everybody, and I think everybody would have the want to go there. We have a lot of guys that are in finals as well. So, but myself and the captains will be there.
In just a few minutes, small business owners can now sign up for Blackfoot Communication Services. Whether it's dependable voice options or internet services, sign up simply by visiting blackfootsmallbusiness.com. Click on the services you wish, select an installation time and date, and you're done. Small business services at the touch of your fingers. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications and blackfootsmallbusiness.com.
I think it's fascinating what you're talking about, just the process of getting better, because obviously there's the tangible part of it that's part of the program, right? But also you have to be mentally committed to it too. So what have you thought of your guys' sort of cumulative mental commitment, and how do you get that out of a whole group of guys?
Well, I think you got to continue to remind them that in the game of football, each week is its own, and try to make that a mark every week. What can we do to get better this week? And in fact, daily, and try to create this consistent model and not make it about who you play, where you play, all that stuff when you play. I think then that allows you to make it about, okay, what am I doing as an individual to get better? And then collectively, what does that allow for with our team? And I think, one thing that is very important is our guys stay committed in the weight room, and I think staying strong through the season is really important. And Coach Herron does a great job with them during the season. I know we talk a lot about the off season with our guys, and it's not so much about making all these kind of gains necessarily, but it's staying strong. And you know, when guys do get injured, we work them hard to get them back. You know, I think you have to have that mindset as an individual that the end result or the result of the team is what it's all about, you know. And I think we have a group of guys that are very team oriented, and when you, I don't know, it's our guys understand that, and that you know, I think it feeds from our older guys to our younger guys, just to go how you go about your business on a daily basis. And you know, I think the results have the results reflect that, I guess, just the way our guys see things.
Seems like it takes a certain level of self-awareness as well, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's a humility that is necessary. You know, I think our guys, you know, being humble and you know, not letting the highs be too high is really important. And then you're hungry enough where the lows aren't too low either. You know, and that's a real balance. It's coming out of a game like we had way back in Cheney, and saying, all right, we won that game. Let's celebrate that, but let's go back to and recognize all the things that we could have improved upon in that game, and so on and so forth through the year. I think, yeah, the self-awareness that comes with being humble and really being able to look at yourself and say, what can I do to get better, and then understand how impactful that is to the sum of everything. And I you know, whether it's the scout team guys continuing to go out there day after day, you know, their buddies playing on other teams, they got finals and are going home this week, you know, and it's hard going out there and doing this weeks on end. But those guys understand how important their role is too, and we tell them that. And so, no, we got yeah, it's a lot between the ears, I think, is what you're getting. It's certainly the physical component, but it's having the right frame of mind for a lot of guys. I mean, it's 100+ people being on the right track.
South Dakota State, like you mentioned, has been a good competitive program for more than 10 years. I mean, in the playoffs most years. But this last couple have been their best. I mean, playing in the national championship in the spring and getting the Final Four last year, and now #1 in the country. So, what do you think of just that dynamic, that they are sort of like experiencing this national elite for the first time, and then sort of, you know, sitting in that driver's seat for the first time?
Yeah, well, I think it's their program is a model of consistency when you have a coach that's been there that long. And I think, you know, their commitment as a university has continued to grow from my vantage point, you know, in particular with the move to FCS, and, you know, the consistent success that they didn't have at the Division II level, you know. And I think what they've done more so the last several years is, you know, they're not going to all of a sudden stub their toe 2-3 times over the course of the season, you know, and they've been really consistent. They've obviously found ways to beat NDSU, which in that conference, you know, is you know, does put you in the driver's seat. So, you know, they've continued to invest. They've had a lot of stability, and, you know, with that, you recruit just a little bit better. Your talent's just a little bit better, but they haven't lost kind of that core of, you know, working hard and outworking people, because that's kind of who they always were for a long time. And you know, now you mix a little bit more talent with all of that. You're seeing those results.
And Coach Stig, I mean, he's been there, like you mentioned, for 25+ years. I mean, how would you categorize just his coaching style and his teams? Is there any consistencies from the time you've seen it?
Well, I think very principled, you know. I think year in, year out, in my experience, they were going to be a team, at least when we lined up against them, that we better do things right. We better really execute, because we weren't going to get them for sure on an off day as far as the effort and everything, and even the attention to detail. And they've always defensively been principled, and then offensively they've always, I think, from my vantage point, they've been very creative over the years, and he's had a bunch of different guys call plays for him. I think they've always adapted to their personnel very well. Looking at their offense one year to the next, there might be some fundamental things that are very similar with offensive line play in particular, but their skill has varied, and now they're in a position. I mean, they're good at receiver, tight end, running back, all that. So, but I think they've really adapted well, and that starts with Coach Stig. I mean, innovation, I guess, and changing with the times, I think has certainly been part of the way he's approached it.
I ask you about your seniors every week, but I want to ask you about Callahan O'Reilly, because he sat up there after the game and he's like, I don't know if it's gonna be my last one or not. So he hadn't really got a chance to soak it in, but now he is. And I think Bill gave a great stat. I think Callahan was like 29-2 at home, as a Bozeman kid during his Bobcat career. Pretty cool for him. So, I mean, what have you thought of just the way that he's been able to embrace this opportunity as a hometown kid?
Well, I think he understands. I think it's within him, first of all, that it is very important that he is a Bobcat, and he's doing it here in his hometown and representing Bozeman High. And I do think that's really important to him. And then, he's continued in my time to get better. I think we came here and he had been a productive player in 19, and he was definitely a guy that we were going to be counting on moving forward. But there was still some growth on and off the field that he needed to have. And in my time with him, he's done that and then some. He has become the leader that we had hoped. He's become the playmaker we'd hoped. He's a very smart individual, and how he has applied that both to his play and then his leadership. That doesn't always click for guys as they go through, but it definitely has for him. And I think he's an absolute model of what you're looking for in an in-state hometown guy, a guy that makes the most of his opportunity in every which way. And we have a couple of those, but Callahan's really he's been able to take it all to a different level this his senior year, and to be the team we want to be. You need guys like him that have these senior years where you say, you know what, that was absolutely his best in every which way, and without guys taking that step, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
I know you talked about last year's matchup against South Dakota State, but that was a signature game for Tommy Mellott. I mean, unbelievable what he did in that game. What do you remember about his effort in that? I know you believed in him, but I mean, that was kind of the moment he took it all the way to the next level.
Yeah, that fast start at Sam Houston was a little bit of a transformation, but then ultimately putting that game together where there was so much on his shoulders. You flipped the film in from last year, and we were pretty thin at running back. So he was our running back. He made some really good throws. Lance, Nate Stewart made some plays on the other end. But Tommy really played a game that would reflect beyond his 2 games of experience really coming into that one. And, in a lot of ways, he was the best player on the field that day, whether it was the design runs, the throws he made, or then the broken plays that he really hurt them with. And so, I think they're going to obviously be more aware of who he is and what he can do than they were last year. I know that. I feel better about where we're at health-wise. Isaiah didn't play in that game. Derek Snell was the other one that hardly played when you flip the film on. on offense. Ty Chase didn't play on defense. That's the nature of this time of year, I guess. But we got more guys I think we can lean on this year. But yeah, they're definitely going to be aware of what number 4 can do.
And just out of curiosity's sake, I know you're concentrated on your team, but did you see the Sac State Incarnate Word game at all?
Well, we got done, and by the time I got with the press conference got in my office, I think it was in the 4th quarter, and we ended up staying up here and watching the rest. And was walking back to my car, and it was 1:15. I was trying to figure out why I did that, but crazy back and forth with all the plays made offensively, the onside kicks, and then just the way it ended with Sac State not giving themselves a chance. Really was crazy. So. Yeah, it'll be that's atypical, I think, this time of year to see a game that way. Usually defense and run games take over, but that wasn't the case there in Sacramento.
Thanks, Coach.
In just a few minutes, small business owners can now sign up for Blackfoot Communication Services. Whether it's dependable voice options or internet services, sign up simply by visiting blackfootsmallbusiness.com. Click on the services you wish, select an installation time and date, and you're done. Small business services at the touch of your fingers. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications and blackfootsmallbusiness.com.